Red Dead Redemption, sequel to a little game with a similar name, Red Dead Revolver, but much, much more. It's looked at as one of the truly great games, an instant classic that's truly going to stay with people for a long time, and it has its own sequel coming that will build on that legacy. So what made Red Dead Redemption great? There's actually an almost uncountable number of reasons that Red Dead Redemption is such a great game, but first, let's talk about the setting. The Wild West is a fantasy setting and a historical period setting at the same time. Red Dead Redemption handles this in such a way that the world itself feels simultaneously magic and like an ending era. The winds of change are apparent to everybody, and though they don't all necessarily understand it, you, as John Marston, traverse a world that is both simultaneously familiar and entirely foreign, and get a similar feeling to the same one we're feeling today in the real world. What is going on? And I'm not referencing current events. I'm referencing the corner that we've painted ourselves into, as a society, as a country, as a people, over many decades. One that maybe Red Dead was a little bit ahead of time in recognizing, as they tapped into an emotional center that said more about our world today when it came out 6 years ago, maybe even unintentionally, that a lot of people are even able to articulate now. Marston, a reformed outlaw, a man who saw the error of his ways, gets in trouble with the Bureau of Investigation. It's not because he did anything new, but they want to track down the members of his old gang and bring them to justice. If he does it for them, he'll get amnesty. To get off scotch-free, to be given that kind of an opportunity when you've got a family that depends on you, that cares about you, that needs you, it may not feel good, but he knows he has to. And so you embark as John Marston on a tour de force that exemplifies how amazing Rockstar Games is at world building. Nothing about this game is left to the imagination. They go so far in finding motivations, in creating histories, and depicting a world that's subtly crumbling away. And let's talk about the characters that you deal with throughout this game. Former gang members, acquaintances, friends, and even enemies. These folks are well developed. You don't feel as though they're out of place. They feel real, in perfect balance with their environment, understanding that they're the last of a dying breed, wishing very hard, in many cases, simply to maintain the style of life that they've known, not even necessarily because they believe themselves to be right, but because it is all they've known. You're on the side of the law, but something feels dirty about what you're doing. You still feel like you're breaking something in hunting down old comrades that you used to spend time with, you used to do things with, you used to fight for a world that you believed in. Whether or not you were right, you don't even know. The game makes you question yourself. There's more than a few times that this is brought up, but most importantly in the story is Dutch. Dutch seems to have the most insight regarding exactly what's going on. He tells you that you are not a person to the people that you're working for. He tells you that you're a tool, a pawn, and that you're expendable. He implies heavily, that he understands very well what's going to happen at the end of this game. And I won't spoil it for you, but he turns out to be right. When Marston holds up his end of the deal, things don't go as planned. And the way that this string of the plot is resolved, generationally speaking, is perhaps one of the finest moments I've ever experienced in a video game. When I found out exactly what I was going to set out to do after that pivotal scene, and who I was going to do it as, it just drove home all of the important emotional, philosophical, and even political points the game makes, and it makes them in style. Even by today's standards, Red Dead Redemption is a gorgeous game. To take place in a setting like the Wild West and still have such a wide, beautiful color palette, to see every shade of a sunset, to see that the beauty of nature extends further than simply the greenlands, and to see all the architecture in these towns from the turn of the century. For when the game came out, I can't imagine a good reason for me to praise it more graphically. And on top of that, it played like butter. Having had the benefit of being able to further revamp Grand Theft Auto 4's combat system, which at that point was definitely the best version of Rockstar's open world combat, gave Rockstar a system that was heavily borrowed from in Grand Theft Auto 5 because it just worked. All of these things come together in such a harmonious, perfect way. The story, the characters, the gameplay, the graphics, the atmosphere, in such a perfect way. People ask why there aren't more Wild West games, and I would say it's because there's way too much to live up to. It's not that there isn't a market. It's not that people don't want them. It's that I think a lot of people know they're not going to do better than Red Dead Redemption. And no matter what, it's an absolute behemoth of a game that any other attempt at the genre is going to stand in the shadow of. In my opinion, if you can say any game is Rockstar Games' masterpiece, it's this one. Why did you like Red Dead Redemption? Let's meet in the comments. I know you've got interesting insight. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week, and the best way to see them first is a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.